let's get this show on the road, folks. Welcome to ThursdAI. Whoa, my face is big. Welcome to ThursdAI, folks, for August 14th. This is Alex Volkov, finally back home from the studio, coming to you live on ThursdAI, which is a weekly show that will keep you up to date on everything that happens in the world of AI. With me today, as always, Wolf from Ravenwolf and LDJ, and probably some other friends will join later today. Wolfram, how are you, man? How are things?
I'm recovering from a nasty infection that I got from some kind of mosquito bite or something.
Oof.
So I wasn't sure if I could make it, but just glad that it is getting better. And yeah, I am again. Hello,
Well,
everyone.
it's great to see you here. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully a quick recovery for you, and hopefully an exciting show will help you recover. LDJ, welcome. How are you, man?
I feel amazing. Just the
Let's
past
go.
couple days, I had just got very little sleep the past 2 days prior. But then last night, I recorded 14 hours of sleep on my 8 Sleep app.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel very refreshed.
All righty. Yes, that's good. That's good because now we have a very interesting show. And also for folks who are just tuning in, you're on ThursdAI, as you probably are aware of. The folks who are tuning in on the Twitter space, hopefully you can hear all of us. Please go to the bottom right and leave us a comment about what you think was the most interesting aspect of the AI world this week. Definitely this week is not as crazy as last week. Last week, if you guys remember, we had a very long stream. Probably we clocked at our absolute maximum at like 3.5 hours, a little bit more, because we obviously restreamed the birth, the announcement, the birthday of GPT-5, and we now had, all of us, a week to work with it, to play with it, to test, to evaluate, and we'll definitely be covering GPT-5 after a week because a lot has changed since then. A lot has changed. OpenAI reversed course on multiple things. People started like figuring out different prompt techniques. There's prompt optimization stuff. There's a bunch. Apparently there was a bug when we tested it. So definitely we'll cover this.
Even a base model.
Even the base model, yeah. But for the OSS
In
stuff,
quotes.
right? Yeah. So we'll definitely cover a bunch of that stuff. We also have, we'll definitely like mention some of the like GPT-5 stuff, but generally from the big labs, it looks like it was like a quieter week. And so most of our news in the big labs is going to be still like OpenAI related because, well, people started playing with this new supposedly top level intelligence, and we also play with it, so we'll definitely cover. We would love to hear from you. If you're tuning in, whether on Twitter Space, whether on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever you're tuning in from, we would love to hear from you, so you tell us that, hey, I've tested GPT-5 and this is my experience, blah, 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 blah. We would love to actually hear from you that this is kind of how things working out for you. Because the thing that happened with OpenAI, it kind of happens to them as well. They reversed course after a lot of feedback from the community, and a lot of feedback, the community is our community as well. And we just would love to hear your experience as well, as we did on the live stream. In addition to all this, we have just, and I think we'll cover like half of the show for this, there's an explosion in world models. And I think that we'll get there, and the TLDR is coming soon. But basically, Wolfram wanted to chat with you about this. Since Genie 3 was announced last week, and we barely had time to talk about this. Unfortunately, the Genie team was not able to find time for us. We thought they're gonna have a chance to come on the show today, but they're very busy. But we're still gonna cover world models very quickly. Genie 3 could have been the more impactful announcement from last week. It's just like an absolutely mind-blowing world model from DeepMind. And the thing this week is that two open source world models were announced. One announced yesterday from Hunyuan and the one of the previous game metrics. And we'll cover this because, well, it's just the outcome of world models that are as good as these is just incredible to me. So we're gonna cover this for sure. We also have an interview today with the folks from Jan, who trained a model that, like a very tiny model that beats these huge other models in Simple QA. We're gonna chat with Alan Dow from Jan in a few minutes here. We also want to say hi to Yam. Hello, Yam Peleg. Welcome.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I love the EAC glasses now showing up on the stream every time.
Oh yeah, accelerate.
Yeah, and then we have Nistan also joining.
Let's go.
So
All right.
This is now
Oh
a whole
man, I
thing.
should have brought my glasses.
Wolfram, it's time for you to glass up. It looks like after the GPT-5 release where we watched it, this is now the official view of the stream. So those of you who are just tuning in on the space, we're going to add the live stream for you as well.
Just
Nistan, welcome.
Very serious call about clinical trials. So I don't think they're watching this show. So
Hey,
good
you're
here.
allowed to blow off some steam, man. Alrighty, so I think the gang is assembled, folks. We all have kind of the notes. I think it's time for a quick TLDR, and then let's dive into the show. And let's not have 3.5 hours like last week. Absolutely. Alrighty, folks. Let's dive into the TLDR. All right, folks, this is it. This is the TLDR for ThursdAI. This is everything that happened in the world of AI, everything interesting, at least as far as we've seen in the world of AI for the past week from August 14th. We'll start with the fact that our hosts today, Alex Volkov and the AI Ventures with Weights and Biases, with me here, Wolfram Ravenwolf, LDJ, Jan Peleg, and Nistan. In some form or other, most of us have been doing this apparently for 33 weeks, because last week, Sam Altman called out 32 weeks from GPT-4, and we're here every week since GPT-4. So we're very, very happy to sit here with you and bring you some of the news. We'll start with open source. There's a few interesting releases in open source we'll cover. Our friends at Liquid AI, and we had Maxime Lebon here from Liquid a couple of times. They released a vision model, LFM2 VL. So we chatted with Maxime about LFMs, and LFM2 VL is a vision model. Lean, very tiny one, 440 megabyte. Million. 440 million. So 0.4 billion and 1.6 billion vision language duo that runs on GPU, but also runs on CPU, and native 512 image handling. So we're going to chat about their vision models as well. Step Fund, the folks who recently released Step 2, the language model, is now releasing a prover model. Prover model is basically a formal math kind of prover model. I think they use Lean. Lean for proofs efficiently. So we're going to chat about this for a little bit. I don't think we have math buffs here, but if we do, this is your time to shine as a co-host to come and explain to us why Lean is more important or whatever. But this is like a specific prover preview. Then we're going to mention this cool effort from Jack Morris, and Wolfram already kind of shouted out this in the beginning. It's called GPT OSS 20 billion base. So Jack Morris took the GPT OSS from, also last week, folks. Last week was fucking insane. Jack Morris took this from the open source release from OpenAI and basically reversed fine-tuned it into a base model. I'm not quite entirely sure exactly what they did, but it was interesting. The whole feed was celebrating this, so definitely, let's cover the GPT base. I see you very, very excited about like that effort. Then we have Jan-v1. Jan as in January. V1 debuts as a 4 billion parameter local search assistant that tops Perplexity Pro and Simple QA. Woo! Local model tops Perplexity Pro and Simple QA, and we're going to have Alan Dow from Jan join us to talk about how they trained this model. It's a fine-tune of Quen. It's super interesting. So we're going to have to chat with Alan about what Jan is and how they trained this model to beat Perplexity Pro on Simple QA. We also saw some updates from LM Arena when they have like an open model arena. If you guys remember, we used to cover every open model release on the Hugging Face open model kind of competition leaderboard. That ended up kind of like subsiding, but at time this was very exciting. So now LM Arena gives us their ones, and there's been some updates there, and it looks very, very interesting because the GPT OSS is kind of like number 7. So we're going to cover this. Pardon? Alrighty, so next up, after the open source stuff and after our interview with Alan from Jan, we will go and talk about big companies, LLMs, and APIs. Before this, though, I will pause and I will ask my co-host if I missed anything huge on the open source area. that you guys have seen that we should absolutely talk about?
No, semi slow week, I guess.
I mean, we're due for a slow one, man. I think. Yeah.
There were some rumors about the DeepSeek R2 release, but nothing confirmed. Other than that, nope.
Yeah. Alrighty. So no DeepSeek R2, but some rumors as well. Alrighty. So we're gonna move to big companies and APIs. And we're gonna get started with Mistral. Small update, tiny update. Mistral launches Mistral Medium 3.1 only on their service and Le Chat, which I learned stands for Le Cat. Gemini has added memory. It was very interesting. Gemini Advanced. I don't necessarily use Gemini Advanced. I use the models directly, but Gemini Advanced is a tool like other tools. And Gemini Advanced added memory, which is very interesting, and personalization features. We actually chatted with Jack Ray, you remember this, during AI Engineer, and I specifically told him, like, hey, folks are missing personalization and memory features, and he was like evasive about this, and now he's at Meta. But he basically now they brought the personalization stuff into Gemini.
Worth noting, also, Claude added this to their web UI at some point last week or this week.
Claude added memory?
Yeah. Claude added past memories too.
Oh, awesome. Alrighty,
on their web interface.
Plus Claude also memory. Oh, that's great. Okay. So that's very interesting to talk about. We can talk about memory and whether or not we're using this in GPT-5. And then we're going to cover a bunch of GPT-5 stuff, folks. First of all, reactions after a week from us and from, honestly, you guys as well in the audience. So there's a bunch of you now here. You guys use GPT-5. There was a tumultuous release for OpenAI, definitely. Some people canceled their AGI plan. Some people sped them up. It was very interesting. But basically, there was a whole thing with the router that we didn't necessarily cover fully last conversation, but basically GPT-5 is a router. It routes the request per smartness. That router turned out not working that well for OpenAI. They actually returned the dropdown with the models, including the legacy models. So we're going to chat about that response. There's also, they're trying to tell us, hey, you're holding it wrong. If anybody remembers this reference to Steve Jobs and the iPhone. So apparently OpenAI told us we're holding GPT-5 wrong and gave us a prompting guide and an optimizer, which I used. And it's pretty cool. I want to show you this as a tool. You can actually drop your prompts and like try to optimize this for GPT-5 prompts. And last but not least, on the demo, they showed off that the GPT-5 now, ChatGPT generally, can now chat with Gmail and Calendar. And you can ask it about your day and we'll do it. And they launched it yesterday and now it's available, and I want to mention this because folks shouldn't miss this. It's a cool feature where you can chat with this thing about your emails. I haven't tested it with advanced voice mode, but maybe we will be able to do it on the show. And we will mention that Claude Sonnet 4 now offers 1 million tokens in the API. This is a huge upgrade from what they had before. This joins Google Gemini with 1 million contacts. They used to have 2. I think they lowered it to 1 in 2.5 Pro. This joins OpenAI. Somebody shouted out in comments for GPT 4.1 also has 1 million tokens. And now Claude Sonnet 4 has 1 million token context windows, which is huge for folks like Nistan who love sending their whole code base with every request. I think that this is it in the big companies and APIs. I think I may have missed a few things, but I think that mostly this is it. Folks were fairly quiet. We heard rumors about Gemini 3 and didn't come. Maybe breaking news during the show, but basically that's it. Folks, anything else I missed? I'm getting no's.
It was a quiet week.
Yeah, quiet week, and we're due for a quiet week for sure. In this week's Buzz, I want to show you 2 upcoming or like latest Weave features super quick. We have Assets, Unified Assets tab, and we have Threads. Threads are great for like agents. I will show you this super quick. And it's not what it says here. Well, definitely what I'll show you. And then the next 2 categories, we'll finally have some time for them. We usually talk about open source for like an hour, and then we talk about big companies for about an hour, and then we don't have time for like the exciting stuff to actually show you. For folks who are just joining, listening in, this will be the segment that will tell you, hey folks, tune in to the video, because we have a few things. So first of all, Hunyan, the Tencent's team introduced Hunyan Large Vision, but they didn't drop it. It's a 1 billion parameter visual encoder with a almost 400 billion parameter mixture of experts language model, their language model from before, yeah, they're talking about very, very serious evals in this vision model, but they didn't launch it. You can only use this via their API, but definitely worth mentioning as well. And ZAI, Jipu, the folks from GLM, also released a 106 billion parameter open source VLM for full spectrum visual reasoning. And so
I think that's the state of the art now.
really, okay,
Yeah, VLM. Yeah,
that's
I
dope.
didn't try it, but I looked at other people's reactions and benchmarks, and so this is built off of the Air one. Yeah, I think that one's actually state of the art, but I haven't tried it.
Amazing. So, folks, stay tuned with us to cover this. And then the coveted, I think the most interesting corner of ThursdAI and the world of AI generally for the past week or so, and I think this was a bit overshadowed by the GPT-5 release. Last week, Google announced, didn't release anything or updated Genie 3, like a full-on world model that can generate like almost games. You can walk through video generation, you can turn the camera around, and it looks incredible. The memory features that are incredible. And then we looked at it, it was like, wow, we were blown away by the quality of this. And then this week, two world models were open sourced, and people were like, Genie 3, I wonder how long it's going to take to open. 2 models were released. Skyworks with Matrix Game 2, real-time interactive world model. And then also Hunyan, the same folks from Hunyan Live Vision, Tencent is all over the place, man. These, like, I don't know how many GPUs they have to train all of these language models, video models. They released an open source Gamecraft for real-time high dynamic game video generation. They call it game generation. Other folks call it world model. It's very interesting. We're definitely going to chat about this. This looks super cool, and we definitely want to show examples of this and how they trained it. This is really, really fun to discuss, and then maybe go into a meta discussion about whether or not we're living in a simulation, possibly, because if these models keep progressing, it's going to be very interesting to try and define if we're not in a simulation. And then maybe we'll show some other Genie 3 examples. In tools, I think that's basically it, folks. In tools, I just want to mention that Grok has now video generation. Papa Musk is all over telling folks like, hey, you should generate video with Grok. They also have some audio in there, so very interesting. They kind of like creeping up towards video generation. Grok is becoming like a multifaceted AI tool, basically. There's also the whole Musk versus Sam versus Apple thing that maybe we should talk about, because it's a slow week where they kind of debate which AI is the best. And I think I have another link for you for GPT-5 evaluations from Ru. That's basically it. Any cool tools that you guys have used for this last week that you want to talk to us about?
Not tools, but there is like somewhat AI related news where apparently there's more details revealed of Andrew Garfield going to play Sam Altman in a new movie about the board drama. So
Nice.
maybe we'll briefly cover that if it's a slow enough day.
I think the drama doesn't end, so I gotta wonder when they're gonna cut the storyline and commit to a storyline. All right, folks, this is it. This is the show for this week. If you have any comments, any things that we haven't missed, that we have missed in the TLDR, please let us know. If you have breaking news, please always comment, which is really fun, because I think it's always fun to engage with the community. And now we're gonna get started with.
If you want some drama, by the way,
Yeah,
that came just to my mind. There's a little sparring match between Elon and Sam. Have you seen it?
Yeah, 100%. We can add this in the middle of the show to kind of keep the folks interested as well. We're not necessarily in that like style of reporting, but hey, it's a slow week. We can have some time for discussions. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to open source. Open source AI, let's get it started. Righty, folks, let's get started. I was just replying and watching the reviews from folks about the stuff that we missed or not missed. Colleen says she is but frustrated with GPT-5, and I think she reflects many many folks with GPT-5. And then also Sivan, who recently started joining us as well, said see if we can cover TARS by TikTok, and I think we covered UI TARS before. It's a open source agentic landscape thing, so we'll take a look and see if this is something new for us. But reminder for folks, we are focusing on the things from this week, and this is the show essentially. And then we try, only if we have like guests, we can talk about stuff outside of like necessarily the last week, but definitely within the last month. So the show is definitely last week coverage show. With that, I think, folks, let's start with some open source. What do you think? Let's talk about Liquid LFM2 VL. So friends from Liquid released their new vision language model. I actually have like 3 releases. I think we can join these 2 over there. We have three announcements or releases with vision models, and one of them is just open source, but we'll get there. So Liquid has their own kind of training foundation. I'm not sure how to call this. They have their own inference, but basically they released a new model. It's a two new models, 440 million, 1.6 billion per vision language model. Let's take a look at this and then put it up here on the space. Let's see what's interesting about this one. It's a, what would you expect from a language model? The thing that I want to call out and chat with you guys here while I pull this up is we see incredible releases always in the open source for like language models, and those seem to catch up. But the fact is, most foundation level models like GPT, etc., they're multimodal. They can even, some of them can even like watch video. Open source usually is catching up on the text level, but not necessarily on the multimodal level. So we're waiting for some of these things to come back, and it looks like at least a few of those this week started. So again, Liquid Vision Language LFM2. Here's an example of this vision model understanding a drop of water, transparent blue ring with a hole in the center. It's kind of hard for the folks on the podcast to appreciate what we're looking at. We're looking at a picture, and this is kind of the description of this very, very small vision model. It's a abstract digital artwork with a ring, transparent ring. The overall composition gives an impression of floating crystalline structure suspended in cosmic environment. Okay, that's pretty cool. Anything important to say about this model from folks? Let's see if anything important. Listen, do you know if this is a fine? Usually, some of these like are fine tunes on top of like existing models. I'm assuming that this is like their fine tune on top of LFM.
Well, the Liquid model, they're a completely different architecture, right? As far as I got from using them, I found it that they were good on one-shot questions, but because they were so small, they couldn't really carry the conversation forward that much. And as my limited understanding of the architecture, I knew more about it last year. I would say that it tends to work a lot better in longer context. So this is probably a good application for it if they can get it to read video really fast and get around the transformer issues of quadratic scaling and not being able to keep everything in context. So I think this will probably be pretty good speed-wise, just to do one image at a time. But for the text side, I found it was a bit too hard for it to like carry forward the conversation or act as a companion for me. Yeah. So that's my commentary on that.
Yeah, it's tiny, so that is a model you can run on the edge on the mobile phone, for instance. But it goes more in the direction of having a smarter model you talk to, and then that may use this as a tool to interpret an image, for example. Maybe we are going to see more modular language models combined with image models in a way that you can have the language model to talk to be your companion, and that can, when it needs to, call maybe even interchangeable visual model to get some visual input. It could be an interesting concept.
It's pretty interesting that this even works at all, considering just how different the architecture is from transformers. So yeah, that's
And we're showing, thanks folks, and we're showing on the stream as well, kind of the architecture, and it looks like they are supporting different resolutions by breaking this down into tile patches, which is a fairly standard thing of 512.
We just see Twitter on your screen, by the way.
Oh, whoa, okay. My bad. I moved it. I was sharing screen, so hold on. Thank you, LDJ. Here we go. Yeah, this guy. Okay. So we're going to see how Liquid Foundation model breaks down the embedding and token compression for the inputs that include text and include the image. And we see it broken down into different tile patches to construct the thumbnail to be able to support different resolutions, the shape optimized for more fine-grained vision capabilities, and a base model for fast image processing. One thing that I wanted to show is that they have, when they were here on the stage with us, they talked about their incredible speed compared to like existing VLMs, and now they're boasting like 2 times faster inference speed on GPUs while maintaining competitive accuracy. I haven't seen any evaluations here. Evaluations, here we go. Okay. So they compare themselves to smaller models like small VLM, intern VL. I don't see any Quen here. Interesting, because Quen does have vision models. And let's see, real world QA, OCR bench, 742. Yeah, this is decent. Not state of the art fully compared to some other ones in the same range, but very decent one. And inference speed is what they're boasting, right? So they're showing that small VL or from Hugging Face, for example, is very significantly slower. This model outputs results with as low as 800 milliseconds. So that's fairly quick.
Yeah, it's also the time to first start. So on mobile devices, if you dump a large prompt, like 8,000 tokens or something, it takes a while for it to just process the input on mobile or on CPU. So the one thing about this architecture is that it's a lot faster at processing input for mobile devices, and I mean like low-end mobile devices.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things about some of these models is the fine-tuning aspect. Like these models are built with fine-tuning like in mind because they're so small, and they have put some example fine-tuning code on Collab, which now you can use for your use cases. I think we chatted with RoboFlow folks about this, and like I think this is very important for folks who are actually going to put these in production. The speed of inference is important, and some other stuff. Alrighty, folks, I think that we can now move on and we can say hello to our guest. We have Alan Dow. Alan, welcome to us. Hey.
Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm researcher at Menlo Research and Gen.
We can. You're coming through a little bit murky there. Any chance you can check which microphone your app is using and see if we can hear you a little better? But meanwhile, Alan, check some settings. I want to say that the second thing that we're going to chat about is Jan-v1 is the model that we're going to mention, and we would love to hear from Alan about training this fine-tune of Quen that beats perplexity on simple QA, which is super cool.
Yeah, try again. By the way, we're big fans. I mean, at least I'm a big fan of the Quen 4B models. I even gave a talk on how to vibe code with Quen 4B. Oh, you're quiet, by the way. We can't hear at all.
Oh, I see.
Now you're good, I think.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yeah, it's still far away, but I think it should be all right. Let's see.
Yeah. For a second, let me change my entire.
Okay, this time, how about this?
Much better.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So now with the technical issues out of the way, welcome Alan Dow. Alan, I reacted to the Jan kind of announcement, which like many folks saw and highlighted how cool this was. But let's start with telling us who you are first of all, and then we'll talk about Jan.
Okay, hi guys. Actually, I'm Alan. I'm from Menlo Research. I've been working in Menlo and Jan in overall for 2 years now. We've been doing a lot of research. I think there's few small research here and there that you might have heard about us, Alpha Maze, Nano, and a few other research papers as well. But I think Jan-v1 is like the the release that caused, I think, a few attention as of right now. And I think that the latest review that the release that we have. I think I'm very excited to share about Jan-v1 today with you guys, and also share about how we build Jan-v1, and what is the thing we do behind it. Because I think the interesting thing about Jan-v1 is that it's the methodology and the way we think and do things is much more simplistic than people think. Because I saw a lot of people saying that we're doing some magic or something that very complicated, but not at all. Yeah.
Alrighty, so we're excited to dive in to this with you, Alan. Feel free to go like fairly deeply technical. Sometimes we go very high level, but like on times that we have some time, we'll have to go deeply technical. I want to start with I haven't seen Jan before as an app. So Menlo Research, you guys have Jan as a desktop app that folks can download. Could you tell the people the difference between Jan the model and Jan the application? What does Jan the application do? Why is it built? Who and when and how, why folks should use this? And then we'll talk about the models themselves.
Okay. You already have the app here. Yes, you can try it out. So I think Gen application is something that started 2 years ago. I think we have a little bit of revamp recently. I love that you have everything set up already. So I think the reason why we started Gen is just because that 2 years ago, me, as a founder and researcher, and also with the founder, we saying, okay, actually Gen started out not as a local app. To be honest, it's a web app. It's originally a web app 2 years ago, and then 2 months later, and we think, okay, if there's Llama CBB, there's a lot of very interesting open source projects, the Llama, and we're just doing this, very tiny web app that very hard to get traction. So we think, maybe we should make something that can run on our laptop, and maybe we should make something that's easy to use and people can use it instead of using ChatGPT for example. And Gen was born that way 2 years ago. I think it's originally it's also get some attention, right? So it's got like 11,000 stars in the first year, but I think the latest Gen is the thing that I love the most because it looks amazing. It's have a lot of features. It has MCP right now, and also you can use a lot of model. So you can go into the setting and then enable advanced feature in general. So you go to general, enable advanced feature, scroll down, advanced feature, and yes, that MCP server. So this is the thing that's most interesting about Gen right now. So basically, there's not a lot of I think MCP client right now in open source. You can get Claude that have very good MCP implementation because Anthropic has invested a lot in MCP. But in general, I don't see a lot of good MCP client.
No. So Jan is a local model that, local app. It started with a web app that supports a bunch of like open source models, and then you have your own models. I think what brought you to us and kind of the explosion is that you guys trained Jan-v1, which is a model and fine tune. Could you tell us about Jan-v1 and how this plugs into this kind of like app for search? I'm assuming this is like mostly a quick local search type thing, right? Or is there any other things for Jan?
Oh, it can use any kind of search engine. It can use any kind of search engine. So I think, is this supporting Channel Street? I just go over the. Yeah. I think I just go over the repo a little bit. Just to share with everyone. So what is Gen Nano, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Jan-v1. Gen Nano is the previous version.
Yeah.
So Jan-v1, it has a very high performance on simple QA. So first, we need to understand what is simple QA. This is a little bit controversial, but a lot of people saying that simple QA only used, to ask a model when you um, you only use to ask the model when the model inherently know the answer, but it's actually not. A lot of other provider like Perplexity also use simple QA to check ability of the model, search for information online to find the answer for the benchmark itself. So the benchmark represent the ability of the model to uh, go online and find the answer to the question and answer it correctly, right? So Jan-v1 had 91% performance on simple QA, which means that if you have 10 questions in simple QA, it's got 9 out of 10 correct most of the time. So it is big something about ability of the model to do search. It's a 4 billion parameter, so you can feed it into a laptop. You can ideally you can also feed it into a mobile phone if you have a latest mobile phone that has a lot of RAM. But yeah, it can fit it in a laptop, and also its performance outperform a little bit GPT OSS 20B just on web search, A lot of other things like math and a lot of reasoning thing it does not, but on web search it also outperform a little bit. And we have a little bit of improvement over the baseline of the Quen thinking model. It's writing, creative writing also a little bit better, and also EQ band a little bit better than the baseline itself. So
EQ
why
bench is
Gen?
the creative writing, right? Like the empathy model benchmark from SamPage.
Yeah. So it's a little bit better due to the
Did you guys run
training
EQ
process.
bench yourself, or did you reach out to Sam for collaboration with him?
We run it ourselves. Actually, we published the entire thing. The
Could you zoom
benchmark
in a
was
little bit,
made.
Alan? Just a little bit zoom in if possible.
Oh, I see. Okay. Let
Yeah.
me try. Oh, I think this
Yeah, this is
should be
great. Yeah,
better.
thank you. Yes.
Oh yeah. So we actually we open source and we published everything, right? So you can we will update the link tomorrow immediately, but you can get the code base, you can reproduce the entire benchmark. Everything is reproducible. All of the benchmark is reproducible, and we will have Gen cookbook release very soon to guide everyone on how to use Gen. I think also there's another question regarding Gen is that people asking us why you guys don't just be a UI and don't train any model at all, because like for example Quen is also already relatively good, right? This is actually a great question. I think the reason why we train a model is that if you use ChatGPT, you will realize that how great ChatGPT is because they have a model that basically coupled with the application itself, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have that in open source. So all the time when you try to download different model and run on different kind of application, it's kind of a little bit hard to get it right. So most of the time when Quen release a model, for example, and then it has some chat template issue in LM Studio, it has some chat template issue in some application, right? So the idea is that we want to create an app that you don't really need to think about which model to use, but it's integrated with relatively decently good model that supporting use case that um, uh, quite trivial and quite general to use, like web search, like perplexity web search or these feature.
That's awesome. Alan, talk to us about fine tuning Quen specifically. How did you choose Quen? Why did you choose? What specific data did you use? If you can talk about this, give us a little bit of an insight of how kind of the world of fine tuning is working right now.
Yeah, sure. I think we published everything, most of the detail about the training process now. We will publish So if you see in our README, actually it's based on the same methodology of Lucy. I will go over this methodology very quickly soon after this. But everything is published right now. But we will have another technical report just for this model because it has a little bit of difference in the hyperparameter. So let me walk everyone through the Lucy paper first. Lucy paper is like, it's also a smaller model, but we use that methodology inside it model to train this model. So Lucy is, the academic model that focus on reasoning. So let's go over the Lucy paper. So this is actually the paper that we took the method from. So actually this is also our paper as well, but it's on 1.7 billion model. So we took the methodology from
August
this.
25, right?
Yeah. We took the methodology from this paper and we trained the Jan-v1, right? So what is the point of this paper, right? What is the point of this paper? I will explain very quickly because the methodology is actually very straightforward and it's not that complicated. I think the only complicated thing is the reward function and how we do it. But the idea is straightforward. So let's get to it. I think I want to share this with everyone for a long time already. And I have this opportunity, right? So let's say, so normally when you use a reasoning model, right, what happens, right? So it will have something inside a think tank. Basically, the model will say, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to go on the tool something, right? You have something inside the think
tags
tank.
in like the reasoning block, right?
Yeah, the reasoning part.
Yes.
It's kind of thing about stuff, right? Sometimes it's saying for 50 token, sometimes it's saying for 100 token, sometimes it's saying for 150 token. So it can be long, it can be short, it can be a lot of text, it can be a few words, right? So it has some kind of, we call it distribution, right? So like it is a bell curve like this, right? So in general, it's saying about, so for example, for each of the kind of the task, so for example, if it's math, right, normally it will think like 500 token because math is difficult, right? Math is difficult, so it needs to think a lot. If it do translation, it will sing in different language, and it's on average 300 token, for example. Yeah, I have some typo. I should change this. So just imagine that this is like coding, for example. Sorry,
Sure. So different things that the model can reason about.
Yeah. For different thing, the model can have an average different token length, right? So for translation, for example, it's saying for on average 300 token, for math on average 500 token. Coding 100 token, 200 token, something like that.
Alan, could I ask you to speed up a little bit? We have around 5 minutes just left for the segment, and so I don't know how deep we can go on the paper. I just like making sure that like I want to capture like the essence of like how did you guys get to better results than Quen, and what did you actually do?
Yeah, so this is the final part, right? So what we did is that we figure out that when model doing tool calling for sure, the best scenario is that it do 70 token, right? On average, the shot when we try, it can go like 70, 150, 200, something like that. It can go very long, right? But how we do this is that, let's say if the model only use 70 token, we'll reward the model because it's more efficient and it's more focused. When you have this thing back, right, it can be long, it can be short. So it's like it's kind of using a thing called a task vector in the AI model. So if you can optimize the task vector to be really focused, right? So it's like you doing exercise and you only thinking about that exercise. You try to remove all of the noise. You try to not think about going out for dinner, playing game, on kind of stuff, and you just focus on.
Alan, does that happen inside while it's thinking? Do you do the search during the RL process, or does that happen after it's thinking? This is the part that I don't fully get.
Yes, we do it after. We do it after. So we reward when the model. So basically, the reward will it will generate on kind of the role now. So like for example, it will think like 5 different times, and it will call the function. And we only reward when the model finish calling the tool. We will not doing it inside the thinking, but outside of the thinking. But we try to fix the length of the thinking such that it is perfect size for tool calling. And because of that, it ignoring all of other noise outside of searching, and it kind of a laser focus on search. And because of that, it makes less error. Well, why is that so? Because if you try to use Jan-v1, you see that the model will do research for like 5 or 6 or 7 times, right? The more time the model search, the more error it will incur. If it doesn't focus, it will it's kind of divert outside of the correct answer. So this is the general idea. Try to make the model focus on one thing.
Don't you see? I mean, in changing and rewarding shorter reasoning, for example, or longer reasoning, doesn't influence the actual results at the end. I mean, I don't know what the actual optimal reasoning for each task, So if I encourage shorter reasoning, I might hurt the model. I mean, what you, because you guys did this, so probably you have some intuition and experience to tell.
Yeah. So let me talk about this. I think this is not the result from our research, but I think this is extremely interesting. And this is the reason why, if you look through our paper, you see that we're not doing. If you look through our paper entirely, you see that this is really reinforcement learning, which basically means that we do not train next token prediction. We only train using reinforcement learning. And why this is important? Actually, on June.
What exactly do you guys like? What is your reward specifically? Because you done novel reward function, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, is this like GRPO or GSPO, or you guys did your own RL process here?
It's IOVR, and we have a new reward function. The reward function that you can find it here is actually quite. So we have 2 reward function. In fact, you can find it in the paper. I will not go over the detail here because it's quite complicated. But it's a smooth function, and also it's has it's a skew distribution of a Gaussian distribution. So it is really tough to.
I get it. So basically, you're saying that you've done some smoothing. You applied some smoothing to the reward function, and this allows you to train more efficiently and get to the results that you got that are very impressive at the end. Okay. Cool. Okay. Very interesting.
And also another point I just want to clarify is that our model have very few degradation from the base model due to the simple fact that IOVR is based on this paper, right? If you read through this paper, you realize that IOVR.
Look, it's very interesting. I mean, we just don't have a lot of time to cover everything.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting reference, by the way. I'm definitely going to read it. We can't go through all the papers, at the end. But it's very interesting, and the results speak for themselves. You've done a tweak to the reward function, and you got better results. Therefore, it's interesting. But thank you for releasing and sharing. And by the way, I really like the project. I think it has a room in the ecosystem. Seriously, like an offline app. Absolutely, nothing today is offline. Privacy is not something that AI even looks at, and it's really, really, really good.
And
Seriously.
it flies as well. I have a MacBook M3 Pro, and I like ask a few questions, like I don't know, what is perplexity? Because nobody knows what perplexity is anymore, and it just flies on my computer at like 80 tokens per second. So tiny model, and does a lot
It's
of
a
stuff.
little bit more than that, man. It's you have different providers. I want to try them all with the same chat. It's that simple. I'm chatting with an AI. Okay, I would like to try Claude and ChatGPT. It's like I mean, somebody should have done this already. I mean, it just makes sense, and it's a really cool product.
I will ask like one last thing, Alan. You said that SimpleQA is specifically for web retrieval and understanding. Where do you guys get the web information from? Like, what APIs do you use if it's local? Like, how does the model go out on the internet and so?
Oh yeah. So you can use different kind of MCP on this end actually. So basically, we use personally I use Super. So I don't know whether you guys know Super, but Super is a pretty good API for getting Google search result. I don't have any problem with using Google search result. I saw that some of the guys also have problem using Google products, so they also use Ray Search API. This also good as well, as long as you can connect it to an MCP, right?
I see.
Yeah.
So via MCP, you basically need to enable the.
Very quick question. We can also connect this with the Exa or other tools and stuff, like the way you guys trained it. It should just work with other tools too, right? It doesn't have to just...
Absolutely. Actually, Shopper is like, too barebone, right? Shopper only return a Google search result. In fact, if you use Excel or like Tabili or search engine that's supporting AI model, the result can be better. So I remember that when we use Tabili, it had result better for like 1 or 2% compared to the baseline, but but we only want to publish the the lowest number to lower people expectation, right?
But look, guys, you ship many MCPs out of the box. It's amazing, seriously, and you just support the MCP protocol. I can connect whatever I want. I mean, that's the beauty of the app. It runs offline. I can connect whatever MCP I want. That's the standard.
So for clarification,
good job.
Just for clarification, last one, Alan, before we let you go. Folks, when they download Jan, they do need to connect some sort of like search API for this to actually work, right? Like the model out of the box will hallucinate results probably because it's not connected to the internet, is like based on its own data. But if they connect search results, then they'll get like the full Perplexity Pro like SimpleQA experience, correct?
That's correct. I saw a few guys on Reddit. They also are using Search NGX. Something I'm not into that local deployment, but something that indexing on of your file on your computer, and they connected through MCP to Jan-v1, and it still works. Some of the guys even do like lawyer document or something like that. I found that also extremely interesting. So if you want entirely locally, you just build your own search engine and connect to Jan-v1. It still works too.
Awesome. So I can't wait to try this with actual like search connected engines, because I just ran it like on its own, and it probably hallucinates some stuff. It's like, I'm not sure. But Alan, thank you so much for coming up. I really appreciate your enthusiasm about this. I really appreciate that you guys like released open source, and like with models, we always are here to support open source releases and give the folks applaud. Anything that you want to shout out the team? How can folks find Jan and download this? Feel free to like just like shout out the team and the work that you did.
Thank you for inviting me today, guys. Just download Jan, trying now Jan-v1, and enjoy yourself. We build it to make people happy and to have a free perplexity.
Yeah, free perplexity. That's awesome. So folks can use Serper API, folks can use Exa for search, folks can use Tavily, and a bunch of like other competitors, but those are like the three main ones. Alan, thanks so much for coming up. We're moving on as we have quite a few things, including breaking news to go through. Alan, thank you for coming up. Folks, we will add Jan links and everything else in the show notes. Alan, send me some links if you want folks to follow up as well. It looks like we have breaking news meanwhile. It looks like Jan, you wanna let me hit the button. I missed the button. And then if you want to cover breaking news, feel free. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. All right, Jan, take it away.
Sure. We got, let me show you the so many things. We got a new model from Google.
Ooh,
We
let's go.
got Gemma 3 2:7 p.m. You heard right, 270
Wow, that's nothing.
million parameters. Yeah, that's nothing. And probably you just think to yourself, okay, nice small model, runs somewhere. But we quote from Google, very strong instruction following.
All right.
Guys, you can train this in minutes. Like fine-tune it yourself with pretty much for free, absolutely for free on Google Colab in a couple of minutes, and
God.
do whatever you want with it. And it got, and again, I deliberately go through this again. Very strong instruction following with 270 million parameters. It's nothing.
Guys,
it's nothing.
There's more. They released on Hugging Face quantization-aware trained version that's 4 bits. So they trained it, they continued pre-training in 4-bit. So that means you should only need about 128 to 200 megabytes of RAM total to run this.
Okay, look, it's cool. That's cool. I just want to see how it works. Okay, I can also train a single parameter. I can also train a single parameter. But like, what I really like about this is that they are deliberately telling you it's probably true. If they say it like this, it's probably true. It follows instructions really well, and you can put whatever you want in the context. Think about it this way, and it's basically free to do whatever you want with it.
Wow,
amazing.
It looks like they distilled a lot of stuff from the 27B. I mean, it's not like they were lacking any compute with this, so train up to use, but it's interesting to see.
I want to see how it works in LM Studio. It should be like a super quick download, right? Like it's like a tiny model.
Yeah,
Gemma
fire it up.
3. So Gemma previously had like bigger models, like the 27 billion parameters, 12 billion, even 4 billion, and now Gemma 3, 270 million is here, and I see a bunch of versions of this.
And I just want to say, Gemma is no joke. Until the last Quen, they were the leading ones, the leading open source model, to the best of my knowledge. I mean, maybe there was another one in the middle because everything is fast, but until Quen, they definitely were the leading ones. So Gemma series are strong. So
this is like 300 million parameters. That's all. That's it.
You can run this in your browser using WebML. So this can run on your browser, on your toaster, anywhere.
Okay,
I want to say you can run it on your phone, but your phone is so strong today, so you can run many things on your phone. But you get the point. You can run it on your phone. Okay.
We actually do have some other breaking news super quick, but listen, let's finish up on this one, then we'll move on.
Okay, yeah, it's 32K context for that small, and it normalizes the images to 896 by 896, which is like 3 times more than the VIP encoder did. So, and it's 256 tokens per image. So
wait, this is a vision model? What am I
missing? What image? What image?
Because it's Gemma 3270M. That's what it just says on their Hugging Face page.
Yeah. Well, is it a model? What am I missing?
Yeah, this can read images.
What?
Oh, wait.
No, am I getting confused?
No way.
I think you're getting a shortcut. I don't see that much information on the Studio community. Let's go take a look at the.
I am not sure it's a vision language model.
No, I think that might be the 4B. That's the 4B.
Okay, the 4B.
It's in the release page. Okay, that just tripped me out. Okay, it just
okay.
Anyway,
All right, we're here to make sure that we get you guys the latest information. So this is why we're trying
I
to
don't
rush.
know why we got so excited about it too.
Yeah, look, Gemma released many models. This is exactly what we said. So yeah, there is a 4B, there is a 270 M, which is only text. 4B also support images. Probably they're going to do something multimodal.
Yeah,
tiny
but you're
as
right
well.
on the
But yeah.
quantization where trained checkpoints as well, and instruction following is high, and they talk about extremely energy efficient. A key advantage of Gemma 3 270M is its low power consumption. Internal tests on the Pixel 9 show the Int4 quantized model used just 0.75% of the battery for 25 conversations, making it our most power efficient Gemma model. So basically, this is optimized for lower end phones. Very interesting that they went for like a very, very small size. I already have it downloaded. It's 300 megabytes. You can download this in LM Studio community. Don't necessarily know what to ask it for, but like it's it runs with 150 tokens per second. So interesting, and you can fine tune this fully on Collab. The second breaking news that we have while we're in the breaking news corner is this. We will go and talk about Meta released a new version of, where's my link? A new,
I don't know what the next token is. Meta released a new version of, what is the next token, Alex?
Of Dyno. Dude, I need a second. I need a second to pull this up. Meta released a new version of Dyno, which is their kind of like vision-ish model thing. Let's take a look. So Dyno E3, state-of-the-art computer vision model trained with self-supervised learning, SSL, which is very interesting. Not RL or anything, self-supervised learning. Produces powerful high-resolution image features. For the first time, Frozen Vision Backbone outperforms specialized solutions on multiple long-standing dense prediction tasks. Let's take a look at this. I think it's very interesting. We talked about Dyno a little bit before, but not too much. But let's take a look and see what at least the animation is. So this seems like a model can do image segmentation and generate heat masks from basically on what we're watching. And then let's take a look at what this means. Scales self-supervised learning for images to create universal vision backbones that achieve absolute state-of-the-art performance across diverse domains, including web and satellite imagery.
Okay. So basically, I think if like the thing about Dyno is that in text you predict the next token. It's convenient. What you do is the model just looks at a sentence and you predict the next word, for example. But what do you do in images? So you need a trick. You basically can go masking, like mask a patch, and then you try to, fill in the part that you've hidden, and that forces the model to understand like what makes sense in the image in order to fill it. This is how you create a model that just learns from images alone, like understand how the real world works. And when you see like heat maps like the above, if you can go back to the heat maps above. Exactly. What you see here is like a video, I think, if I understand correctly. And the model captures the interesting things in the video. What you see is like a heat map of the model highlighting, like with activations, for example, the cats. Or here you can point your finger at something and it just highlights the actual object, which means the model understands that it's a different thing. These pixels are different than the background. These are cats, and the things behind them is not a cat. And this is what you want to make, a model that understands, because based on this knowledge, you can then go vision language model, because you already understand the vision. So you can generate text, you can answer questions, and so on. So basically, this method probably, I didn't read the papers, first time I see this, probably is the best method at the moment to do this. Because it's not an easy task. It's not convenient when you think about this too much. And I thought about this a lot. But when you go through this for a long time, you understand that it doesn't work that well if you just randomly hide parts of the images, because most of the time you hide nothing interesting. So the model doesn't need to understand, basically. Anyway.
And we chatted. Thanks, Jan, for the breakdown for those of us who are not necessarily following this. We chatted with a bunch of, like, we mentioned Dyno before, but we also mentioned Segment Anything a while ago from also Meta, and Segment Anything segments based on what you select, but it's not semantic. So we had Peter Skalski from RoboFlow to talk to us about this. segmentation basically like taking out like one part of the image, let's say Alex out of the background, and that was not semantic, which means like the model didn't understand what you want to segment. Semantic segmentation is something where you just like tell the model in plain face, like take out the cats or like segment the cats. So it looks like this model is like very set up for semantic segmentation based on the stuff that we show now on the screen. So it has let me show. It has like object detection, so you can see like a person, a backpack on a bicycle in the video, and then also semantic segmentation where you can segment the person and the bike. Very very interesting release from folks at Meta.
The cool thing about this is that when you see things like object detection and so on, what many people take for granted today is that you tell text models what you want. You tell them the instruction, and then they follow your instruction. Now, think images. How do you tell it on inference time without training an image model to segment a specific thing? Without text, how do I tell it? Just highlight the person. I want to find people. This is how you do it. You have an image that you don't have few shot. You can't give it examples.
Nope.
There is no text you can explain. You need to highlight with yourself something, and then like it finds the entire object. Like that's pretty much the motivation behind those things. And just like you said, Alex, this is perfect for further training, for object detection, for segmentation. It's perfect. This is what it meant for. So pretty cool.
So the folks are highlighting state-of-the-art results here on because of this like self-supervised training without labels. So like the model basically like trains without like human annotated labeled data, produces a state-of-the-art performance on dense prediction tasks, unlike the Dyno v2. So super cool for Meta. We're probably gonna hear more. Most of these models, when they get released, they get roped into other like softwares that use them, or maybe libraries. So it's gonna be super cool to see. So this is our breaking news, folks. We're over an hour here into the stream, and we haven't chatted about like some of the other open source. Let's run through them super quickly so we can get to. I know many of you use GPT-5. Some of the comments already had were about GPT-5, so we need to get to GPT-5 and how we all thought about this. So we mentioned the Liquid Foundation. We chatted for a while with Alan from Jan-v1 for billion parameter one. Let's talk about GPT-OSS base super quick. This is from Jack Morris. And he worked and wrote like a fairly long thread about getting the base model. Obviously, when GPT-OSS released last week, we didn't have that much time, but we did cover this on a few live streams. We got an instruct model, a model specifically instructed with reasoning as well. And usually when open source models release, some other models give us the base model before the kind of the fine tuning. So Jan, you wanna walk through what this was? I saw you getting very excited in the beginning of it. Muted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, not going too much into it. The way it works today, basically, you take a model, cram the entire internet into it, predict the next token, as simple as that. Text, and you predict what the next word is. This is a base model. You do this for a gigantic pile of text, and you get a base model that can just complete the text. That is what it can do. But it will not follow your instruction because it's not trained to follow your instruction. You're going to ask it a question.
Trained to predict the next token, yeah.
Exactly. You're going to ask it a question. It's going to give you another question because it's like a list of questions. It's not going to answer. So what you do is you simply train it, get an instruction, and then just solve whatever the command is. This is what everyone knows today. There are other steps, put that aside. No one before has taken a model that is in instruct form and converted it back into the base that it was trained on. This is the first time anyone did this.
This is the first time I hear about this, yeah.
Yeah, and we have several instruct models on Hugging Face where we never got the base. It was never released. Now we can extract it, and it's surprisingly simple. It just works. The thing about this is that they didn't do anything but get the idea. The idea is everything here because it just works. You just take a bunch of text that you think are there, like probably they are there. I don't know, famous text, famous data sets, things that are online many times. I don't know. You just train the model to complete them very, very lightly. So you won't destroy it. to just get it back to something that for sure it's already seen. It's not gonna complete it because it follows instructions. It just works. Here it is, the base model. And they went for Harry Potter, which they didn't train on. They didn't put the Harry Potter in the training, and all of a sudden the model knows it by heart. So yeah, absolutely, it was in the base model.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, here's an example on the screen for folks who are just listening. That like a few Harry Potter, Great Gatsby, a few books that they've tried, they gave it a prompt and the model just like literally just completed whatever's in the text. So showing memorization of the base model, not something you'll get from the instruct model, because instruct model will say like, what do you want with this text? The base model just completes the next token as it shows. Interesting thing, they also talked about the alignment, like turning GPT-OSS back into a base model appears to have trivially reversed its alignment. The model will now tell you how to build a bomb. It will list all the curse words it knows. It will plan a robbery. So basically reversing the instructions that OpenAI has fine-tuned on top of the base model. They also fine-tune the alignment on top of the base model. So this seems to have reversed that as well. It's a very interesting exercise, right? This is like Jack Morris, and we'll add the thread to the show, says that like they wanted to try jailbreaking and they thought it was like the wrong approach. Instead, they just like reverted the model to its like base state essentially.
So it would be interesting to see if it can be fine-tuned further from the base model, so you can put your own alignment on it, your own chat template and stuff like that. And personally, I was even more surprised not by this being possible. It's something that should be possible. We just haven't thought about it, I guess. But what was surprising for me most of all was that, like Harry Potter in there, that wasn't in the data he used, so it must have been in the base model, which also means that my theory is that they used some sanitized training data is probably not true. So it wasn't just synthetically generated data by O3 or something, but it probably also had some other sources. Unless, of course, that came from another model that had it in there as well.
Yeah. So I'm scrolling through the thread and it looks like they're using, they were very careful from keep training this. So, you know, this is like keep training, adds new memories, adds new capabilities, and they're like, okay, no, we need to like restore it to the base state, not add new stuff. So they used what did they use? The fine web, because like it looks like fine web is in there for sure. Most models are now trained on fine web.
Yeah, the approach was to use the minimum necessary changes to get back to a base model behavior. So I wouldn't call it the base model because it's probably very different from what we originally had, but it is a way to get back at that which has been hidden behind layers of fine-tuning.
Yeah, they also used LoRa on only parts of the parameters in order not to destroy the model, just to destroy as less as possible. Because every training also make the model forget something, and you want to minimize that as much as possible. And it's just cool. I never thought about this. I mean, I just saw it and like, okay, that's a cool idea. I never thought about this. That's really cool. Now I want to reverse Phi. I want to reverse so many models on Hugging Face now. It's really, really cool. Seriously.
Do it. This is base model all over. Alrighty, folks. In the final kind of strokes of the open source stuff, we see a reshake of the LM Arena. LM Arena has a specific segment for open source models, and we used to look to Hugging Face to tell us which open source models are kind of the best. And now we have some of these examples. I just want to like run through the latest kind of updates. It looks like Qwen 3 235B with Instruct version, the reasoning model from Qwen is getting the top rank on.
Not the reasoning one, just the Instruct. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I noticed that in my own tests as well, that the Instruct was almost as good as the thinking, and I'm using the Instruct all the time because it's faster.
So that's model number one. I think the general rank of it is 5, but like the open source rank is 1. Chimic A2 is coming in second. DeepSeek R1 is still at 3. People still prefer the outputs, and remember, this is like people who don't know what model they choose between. GLM 4.5, which we mentioned before, and OpenAI OSS is way down here at like 7. So GPT-OSS 120 billion parameters comes in at 7th place after Gemma 3 27B. That's quite crazy. Nista, I'm gonna put you on mute. There's a lot of background noise, unfortunately, from you. But if you want to comment on this, Nissan, feel free to chime in as well.
I was downloading the base model, but it was still refusing stuff for me. I use the Quant3Instruct. It's pretty good. I use that in prod as well, and I also found the same thing, that I didn't see a whole lot of difference from it and the thinking. They've done something here.
They've cooked with this model. All right, folks, I think this is open source. We've been at it for an hour and 50 minutes or so. We will move on to the next.
By the way, when this was pointed out, someone from Google said that there are probably there will be another Gemma model sometime soon. So a bit of a rumor here, but we are expecting it, and it will be multilingual as well, which is a great thing about Gemma, because I would recommend Gemma for everybody who's not using English as their main language, because it is much better than the open source GPT OSS model, which is only trained on English data.
All right, folks, we're an hour and 50 minutes into the stream, and I will do something I haven't done in a while. We'll do this week's buzz. Welcome to this week's buzz. This week's buzz is a corner on ThursdAI where I talk about everything and anything that happens in the world of weights and biases by CoreWeave, the folks who make this show possible. And I'm Alex Volkov, the AI evangelist for weights and biases. And this week, for the past few weeks, I think this week's buzz was all about which models we put on our new inference service. So we have an inference service. It's a couple of months old, and I want to highlight that the models that we just showed in the open source segment, the top models that we just showed, Qwen3, 235B, Kimi K2, DeepSeek R1, and GPT OSS, most of these models are on our inference service. Folks worked really hard to get them on there, so you can try them out. We have also increased our free limits for temporarily, so you guys can try them out super quick without getting stuck in the limbo. If you go to our main account and reply there, you'll most likely receive a few credits to try out these models themselves for an OpenAI compatible API. Now, having said this, the W inference is going strong. It's very interesting. Please give us feedback as well. We did notice, not in our inference, but generally this week, there was a lot of folks trying to host the open source models and then notice different quality. We'll talk about this later in the show. We're prouding ourselves of hosting the model in full precision mode and keeping up with the latest VLLM releases, so you'll get the absolutely best tool call. Now, the thing that I wanted to show on the show is actually something else. So we also, part of Weights and Biases, my job is to promote Weave, our software, or I guess SDK for LLM tracing and observability and evaluation. Okay, so when you build AI agents, when you build applications, when you build all kinds of things, when you do evaluations, for example, you significantly can get improved results and trust in what you're doing if you track everything, and then you'd be able to see all of the responses and results. So one example of this is when new models release, I do a sort of an evaluation, and Wolfram does evaluations a bunch as well, and I store all those results and evaluations within Weave, our software. So I've talked about Weave multiple times on the show. The thing I wanted to highlight here is we now have a few kind of quality of life upgrades for Weave, and I want to show them super quick. So number one is we bunched up all the assets now under this assets folder. So assets is everything that's kind of stuff you can refer to. So prompts, for example, you can store your prompts. So I have a few prompts here that I can store and reuse. This is a V0 of my prompt. This is a prompt called editor, and another prompt called draft, which these are the prompts that I use for some of the ThursdAI kind of draft preparation. And you can use those prompt objects then in the API. It's pretty cool. Now, the cool thing about prompts is that they're versioned. So every time you update your prompt, you can go back to a previous version. So you can do different evaluations with different prompts. And prompts are first level members in Weave. But you also have models here, and you have data sets. Data sets is very interesting. When you run evaluations, you want to store and version in your data set. So this is, I have like 8 versions of the data set already because I keep updating like 1 or 2 things. We also have scores here as well. So this is nice because like it combines all the assets here under one roof and you can see all of them. And I think the coolest thing, you can see versions. As you can see, I have a bunch of versions here, and you can see the type of category of the asset. If you are organized about your prompts, if you want to do different things, kind of like to store everything and do it programmatically, this is the way to do it for you, and we'll do the versioning. It's super cool. And the second thing is, I don't have them here, but we have launched threads. For many folks, when they use AI agents, for example, agents go on different tangents, different trajectories, and many folks want to kind of see them all in like one conversation or one user, etc. So we added something called thread ID now that you can add to all the calls if you want, and you can do it based on user, you can do it based on agent, based on run. You basically decide what a thread means to you. Again, we want to stay agnostic as much as possible to not interrupt with your flow, but give you the tools to be flexible to do what you want. And so unlike a regular kind of tracing table that all the traces are there one by one, here threads you are able to basically group those calls together based on whatever logic that you have. You just call it a thread ID, you pass it together with the trace, and then we'll basically show you an execution step by step of those things. I don't have any current threads to show you right now, but this is the few new additions to Weave, definitely quality of life additions to our LLM tracing and observability tooling. And this is it. This has basically been this week's buzz. If you haven't tried Weave, please go to 1b.me/Weave and give Weave a try. This is the documentation. It has a bunch of other stuff. We'll talk about leaderboards. We'll talk about monitors. There's a bunch of stuff. The one thing that I would strongly recommend is to start using our playground. You can plug in any credentials that you have from OpenAI, Anthropic, any provider, Azure, Grok with a Q, XAI. So basically, once you add those keys here, you can use our playground to compare between models across different providers, which is something super cool, including our own WNB inference, but also via GPT, OpenAI, etc. And you can run your prompts here and see all the results. Playground, super cool. I use it all the time for comparison. I think that's been a super quick this week's buzz, and now we're gonna move to big companies and APIs. All right, folks, LDJ, come back to us. Hey, so this has been a week since the most powerful AI from OpenAI released blah, 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 GPT-5. This is our corner. What do you guys think about the last new model after a week of testing it? And I want to hear from our folks who are tuning in as well. Is GPT-5 your new favorite? Are you back to GPT-4o? Where are you? We're going to have a conversation here. We usually cover what happens, but this happened last week. We're going to have a conversation to talk about GPT-5. I will just say, to kick off this conversation, that the thing that we kind of like saw is that GPT-5 was not only a model release, it was a router release. And some folks who don't really like OpenAI, they say that this is a release for OpenAI to optimize for costs, because the router basically for the free people routes to the lower model that takes less GPUs to think, etc. And so you need to work really hard to get the GPT-5-ness of GPT-5. The model that they showed rank on top of the best evaluations. We mere mortals, especially the folks, the peasants who don't pay for Pro $200 a month, who can't afford it, they don't get that intelligence necessarily, the one that like broke through the ranks. And so you really need to like really try at the router. And so that's something that you know, this model router is a concept that they try to, for removing all the drop-down options that people get confused about. Yeah, and so what I'm gonna say is, like, when we tried GPT-5, we're not sure necessarily which version of that intelligence we tried. With this said, you now can choose GPT thinking and low and bigger, etc. So let's talk about impressions from GPT-5. Wolfram, I want to hear from you first.
Maybe we could talk about the history quickly, because that was it came out and they immediately removed the other older models. So they were suddenly gone. There was no grace time, no notification in advance. So that hit a lot of people. Then there was a thing about the GPT-5, which is it now? Is it the thinking, the non-thinking? And the router, there was a post that on the first day that the router was broken. So even the people who were expecting it to think didn't get the thinking or fully thinking version. So that was a lot of issues, many issues were there after the release immediately, and a huge outcry because on the one hand, the GPT-4o was beloved by many, me included, compared to what GPT-5 does by default, which is very shorter responses, it has some kind of personality that is missing from GPT-5, and it's shorter, which is also an indication maybe that is because they wanted it to be cheaper after all. You can control the length of the response via the API, so the API has been upgraded a lot, but the online version has been reduced. And then the other thing is that we didn't get as many thinking. The rate limit for thinking, GPT-5, was lower than it was for O3 and O3 Mini and O4 Mini and so on. So that was another outcry by the more power users because the thinking limits had been increased or lowered, so there were less thinking. And they reverted all of these changes and the controversies. So big applause for OpenAI for doing that so quickly, because they returned GPT-4o. It is available for everybody as a legacy model. And what we are seeing on Alex's screen is that there are also 4.1, 4.5, 03. Those are also available if you enable a toggle in the settings where you can enable the legacy model. So they are there as well. They've always been there in the API. And the rate limits have been increased. What is it now? 3,000 GPT thinking per week? Is it that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. I have been hitting my O3 limits before, so I haven't hit my O5 limits now. And for me personally, there are only two models I use right now. The GPT-5 thinking, when it is anything that has to do with research or web search or anything where the answer is important, like medical questions, for example. Now that I got that strange reaction to a byte. And the other thing is GPT-4o is just for text transformation and so on. And I still prefer that model over GPT-5's shorter responses. And they've, even if both are fake, if it's just an AI in a way, it's not human. But GPT-4o is more human, I think. And a lot of people have been thinking that. Yep. So there's a whole movement, bring back GPT-4o and keep it forever. And I would say just release it open source if you don't want to run it anymore with yours. It's too costly.
Definitely, there was a whole community outcry, especially on Reddit, from the subreddits where AI girlfriends and AI boyfriends, and it's very interesting that the AI boyfriend subreddit is like 10 times larger, like 100 times larger than the AI girlfriend subreddit. It's very interesting. There's a whole outcry that people are just like, oh no, you know, my boyfriend 4.0 is gone forever and 5 is not good enough. But
that's strange. Sometimes we see all these people, all these men doing AI stuff. Yeah, there are women in AI, but it's interesting that there are communities that are even bigger.
They're significantly bigger, and they all trusted. And it looks like OpenAI listened and returned. At first, they actually updated a few times. At first, they brought back the legacy model dropdown and then gave all the models there. I think only for Pro members, all the models are there. For Plus members, the 4.0 was there, and then they're like, okay, 4.0 is back by default. People don't want to talk with this like new intelligence. I gotta wonder why that is. Nistan, many speculations of why that is, or why folks like don't like GPT-5 and they want 4.0.
Oh, I have a lot to say.
Alrighty, this is
interesting. Interesting, I must say, interesting because I just don't agree. I think it's a great model. So let's go, Nistan.
So I think that I'm gonna go off on a tangent. I think that OpenAI took a lot of the research that was at Replica that made these AI boyfriends and girlfriends, and they just kind of implemented it badly, sort of, but it worked well enough that users started getting a somewhat emotional attachment to this, because now that it has this agentic RAG in the background and it has somewhat of a world model, the theory of mind stuff starts to apply, and you start to think of it more as something conscious and something personalized to you.
Especially with memories,
Yeah, so GPT-4o, on top of that being associated with positive feedback loops, kind of makes you addicted to this thing. and you end up missing it as like a simulated consciousness. This also happens in older games with NPCs without any AI at all, by the way. So I think this is why people went off. It wasn't really to do with the quality. The quality is a lot worse on GPT-4o. It was the 5. I mean, the quality is better on 5. So that's it. Didn't have to do with the quality of the answers. It had to do with this interpersonal feeling. I think that's what it is. For me, I think right now, as far as coding and stuff goes, I think the meta is you just take the whole code base, you dump it into GPT-5. It has very, very good following at long context. And I think GPT-5 right now just gives the best code reviews and writes the best spec documents. So that's what I have felt. I didn't feel like it was really even any better than Quen at it would make often similar mistakes at doing styling and stuff. Styling is still Sonnet and Opus 4.1, but it was reliable enough to fix stuff. That's my whole take.
My first reaction to GPT-5 after we got off the stream, and I was sitting in a nondescript Croatian hookah place working on the newsletter that I sent. I have my own prompt. It's a long prompt that I've been crafting for a while, and then it started simple, and then for reasoning models, I adjusted it, it receives the transcript of what we talked about. It receives the TLDR notes that you guys see on the screen that I prepare ahead of time with the folks, and it receives like a few examples of my handwritten newsletters, and I wanted to give me a draft. And this draft usually helps me like brainstorm like how to write, how to approach. When I need to tell you about like the most important things about this thing in the newsletter. Sometimes these drafts like help me figure out what exactly to focus on and how to say. Sometimes when I don't have time, I would tell you ahead of time, hey, this new draft is like produced by the new model. So I actually used this opportunity to try the new models that we release on this draft. GPT-5's first response for this prompt, that I have a very long crafted prompt with examples, with specific things to do and not to do, with instruction following. I want specific things in Markdown. I want it in this place or that place. Like I have a very specific thing that I've crafted. GPT-5 gave me such unbelievable bullshit that I looked at it. I was like, what the hell? Where is the creative writing on this model? Where is it? I will say, since then, I've tried it again on GPT-5 and I chose thinking specifically. And I think I just got I got stuck in the router issues. Like I literally got such a horrible response that I got stuck in the actual issue. The other thing that I noticed, and we'll add Rebecca on stage, the other thing that I noticed is that I had we always play with models. We play with custom instructions. You can customize those models to custom instructions. I had something that I found on Reddit that I always try different things. I always try like different, some jailbreak techniques, some like optimization techniques. I had in custom instructions some bullshit about I shaped the narrative, whatever. Basically, it looked like the models that I got in the router back then in GPT-5 over focused on the custom instructions segment. And basically it was outputting whatever's in custom instructions versus just the prompt that I was giving it. It was like significantly over influenced by the custom instructions. I also noticed it in advanced voice mode. My custom instruction said, you don't repeat, don't go too much. And then every time I talked with the GPT, because GPT-5 came to advanced voice mode, you could talk to it, etc. It kept repeating the custom instructions in every reply. She's like, I told it, go and find something on the web. It's like, all right, got it. I will go on the web, but I will not repeat too much. And we will set this thing like not to repeat too much, like multiple times in the advanced voice mode. So I think that at the beginning, at least on the task that I had, I got stuck in the kind of the router type thing. And then I tried it again. It was more of like my style. At the beginning, it was like not my style at all. So folks who did read the newsletter, you saw that the comparison between 03 and the GPT-5 one, I was very, very unimpressed. And since then, I think it like subsided a little bit. And I think we did get from OpenAI a quicker response. Like the folks really worked on giving folks back the legacy models. The other comments that I had was about prompting, because when I reached our friend Swix, who was featured by OpenAI, etc., blah, 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 I was like, hey, dude, what the fuck? You got super excited about this model. I'm getting bullshit responses way worse than some open source models. And he told me basically some form of skill issue. I don't know if like he was right about skill issue or not, but I will say there is a new prompting required for these models, and not necessarily required, but there is a There is a new prompting kind of like regimen upon us. And I want to go on a small tangent, and I would love to hear you guys as well, because essentially, new models have new capabilities. New capabilities might require new prompting like to unlock this. But for most users, and when I talk about most users, I'm not talking about ourselves or folks even who are listening to the podcast, because we are interested in AI, we want to follow up. We know about, hey, new model, new instruction following, it's harder. You need to adjust your prompts a little bit. For most users who go to GPT, the GPT-5 router was built such that they will use the reasoning models. Sam Altman posted a week ago after GPT-5, he posted some stats where most users, not us, most users, like 1% to 5% of the free users used all three reasoning models on top of like the regular one, and like 7% of the plus models. So basically barely anyone used the test time compute paradigm, the reasoning models that we all know and love. And we have an intuition of when to enable. Like Wolfram, Yam, Nistan, LDJ, all of us, we have the intuition of like, okay, I have a longer task. I'm going to enable thinking model. I'm going to go drink coffee. I'm going to come back. It's going to do the test time compute thing because we know it extrapolates. It's the new scaling law, blah, 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 blah. We know all this. Normies, they go and it's like they just dump a question and they expect the answer super quick. They don't switch. So the router was basically built kind of to like show them this new intelligence that exists that you need to wait for. Many of them hate it. Just absolutely hate it. They don't understand why they need to wait so much after getting used to getting responses super quick. They don't understand why they like sometimes get responses better, sometimes worse. That's a consistent piece of feedback that I saw on my timelines. That people are confused of when they get what. And sometimes the responses are very good and sometimes the responses are crap and they shouldn't be crap. And the way to hone this thinking thing is via just prompting. You can now say, hey, think for longer. You can literally just say this. We know this from the open source models. You can prompt them for reasoning. But for GPT-5, OpenAI released a cookbook we'll go through of how to prompt these models, and add this to the newsletter as well. You can prompt the model. You can say, hey, think at this point, think for longer, and then give me this answer. And when I
two fixes they also implemented is that you can select now fast and thinking. So you can directly select it. And when you hover over the reload button, the retry button, you see which model did give you the response if you just use the normal one and if it triggers thinking or not. So also that was also criticized and has been
so you have the auto one, which was the router. You have the fast for instance answer, which is like probably low reasoning. Thinks mini, thinks quickly. And then you have thinking for longer, better answers. And obviously you have pro, which is research grade and is like taking a while. So you now have like
if you have pro.
If you have pro, yes. This was quick thinking, thought for a couple of seconds, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. See you at coffee timer. I did tell it before, so this is like the result of memory. Now, so this is my reaction. The new prompting that's required, many users don't feel like they need to do new prompting. And I was also thinking about this. Why? Given that these models are like better new intelligence, shouldn't they just like better understand what I want from the way that I talk about things? Why do I need to adjust myself to the way that the models the response? So that was very, very interesting to me that I had to learn a new thing. But I think my experience was the result of a router gone awry rather than the result of different prompting. Speaking of prompting, what do you guys think about how do you prompt GPT-5?
I just wanted to add, and I will just go quickly with that, because you probably know about my Amy, the AI I use everywhere, which is a specific persona, and I have the same prompt. It's 12,000 characters right now in the base version that works exactly with Grok 4. And I use the same prompt with Gemini, and I have translated it in Chinese, so it is under 3,000 characters, which is a custom instructions limit for ChatGPT. So it is translated, but it is still the same basically, and it has been working beautifully with all these models, with Gemini and GPT-4. All those were my two favorites, whereas Grok was a bit over the top, and GPT-5 was a bit underperforming in that way. So yeah, there are differences between the models. Claude was excellent with this prompt and helped me create the prompt initially. But now they have so many limits, don't role play and so on in the chat apps, that I haven't been using that anymore. But yeah, so there are differences between the models, but if you craft a good prompt, it is pretty compatible. So you may fine tune it for specific models. But having to completely prompt differently, of course, that is something. If you have to learn every model specifically, you get better results, but they should be smart enough to work the same way. Like if you have different employees, you want to talk to them. And if you know how to talk to employees, you should, you expect them to understand you. Sometimes you have to repeat stuff for others, but in general, you don't want to learn a new language just to talk. to a new employee, unless it's a different language, of course.
Just really quickly, because other people have said this too, GPT-5 without thinking is really bad. Whenever it switches to it, it made tables wrong. It would just hallucinate stuff. It was worse than the open source model. That one has thinking. That was fine. It's really, really bad. So yeah, just use the prompt, think long and hard before answering this, so that it routes to that. In AMP, on the tool, I could just turn on thinking. That was fine. I don't know if Cursor lets you do it, but Cursor has been fine too.
Yeah. It's interesting that the API direct usage of models in the API, you can go to the thinking models directly. That is usually fine. Most of the tools implemented the thinking one. Many people said that the GPT-5 thinking in the API in Cursor is the best model. You have to wait a lot. And so for tasks like planning or like outlining, that's fine for them. But like when they actually want to code, it's too long for them. And so they do switch back to like Claude Opus, which launched also a new model, Opus 4.1. And also in Claude Code launched a hybrid mode of, I think my internet is slow. Can you guys still hear me? What's going on?
We hear you well.
Audio is great.
But you're lagging. Video is lagging, but we hear you well.
Yeah. Interesting. So
reboot him, guys. Just turn him on and off.
Let me see if I can quick this.
Deepfake incoming.
Let me see if I can fix this super quick.
Yeah, something about the connection today for everyone.
Yeah, me and Yam are having issues. Where you're in the US today, right, Yam?
No, I'm back actually. Maybe I don't know. Maybe an infrastructure thing. I don't know.
Yeah, like Cloudflare. I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
So we'll try to stream despite the issues, folks. But it does seem like a little bit like we're having like some lag issues with the stream. But if you're missing any part of this, we're doing, I think, local recording. So everything.
Oh, he just.
Alex is gone.
He just disappeared.
Gone. Okay, that's the time where I tell you I don't understand what the guys are even talking about, because GPT-5 is a great model. It's actually great.
Thinking I love, but the normal fast one I wouldn't use.
Let's wait for Alex to come back, and then I'll go last on GPT-5. I just think it's great.
They took him. He said the wrong thing.
Actually, I think Alex would want us to continue the show in the meantime.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I have something to say about this, because there was a test where you could do a blind test of GPT-5 versus 4.0, and I did that, and I think it was 80% where I was rating GPT-5 better. So in this blind test, without my custom instructions, and I don't know which GPT-5 it was, but in that case, I said, okay, GPT-5 is better. But when I did my own tests in the ChatGPT app with my own instructions, it was always 4.0 that was better for me.
We can see you now, Alex. Or at
Except thinking, of course. Thinking is still, wow.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah,
I'm back.
You're so back.
Internet just died, folks. For the first time for the past 2.5 years, that like a streamer just like went dark on me. So sorry. Go ahead, continue. I'll chime in the conversation.
Anybody else? Anything about how they hate GPT-5, and then I'm gonna say it's great.
I think it's great. The thing that
I think it's great. Yeah.
I want to highlight is Formula One. I don't know if you guys saw this this benchmark. Yeah, maybe you saw this from I'm not so sure, and like a bunch of other folks. They built an eval that basically shows that the models cannot like reason at PhD level. And they show that GPT-5 is like really, really good. Is the only model that gets anywhere. And I'm gonna try to find this like specific eval right now. But basically, I think once you get to that level of intelligence of thinking, and you grab it, and you're able to use it to your advantage, this like incredible model. And I think what many people by default just see is the route of putting them to the base one, the non-thinking one, and that's like very, very disappointing for many folks. And for folks who are not paying, or folks who are paying just plus, I think OpenAI, the router in the beginning, just like defaulted them to this, which is very, very, very unfortunate, because kind of the way the folks perceived the model when they released, this is kind of what the undertones, that's what's left. The first impression that the model gives you, that's what's getting left in your head about this model. And I keep telling folks, my girlfriend included, like, hey, this is a router. You get multiple models. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the router. Nobody cares about they just think GPT-5 is stupid. I want GPT-4. And I don't think that this is the case.
Isn't that ironic that they had so many names that were pretty terrible for O, 04, and so on, and now they put out GPT-5, and it hasn't become better. Now, when you say GPT-5 is great, I always think, do you mean thinking? Do you mean the normal one, the fast one? Which one do you mean? It hasn't gotten any easier, actually. It has been getting more confusing, I think. Unfortunately,
it's a bit more confusing. It's more confusing to tell people who are not in our bubble of like, hey, this is how it is, and you guys shouldn't give up on the model. 100%. I want to try and find this.
Look, normal people don't even know you can switch models. There are different models. Like, what are you guys even talking about? Go ask the average ChatGPT user, what model are you using? And they'll look at you, what? ChatGPT. And that's it. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. That's the average user. That's pretty much it. Now you go to the people that actually change models, and what you get is that, that most of them know the things that we know. I mean, you want thinking, you previously went for O3. It was great. It can search the internet. O3 Pro is a bomb. It's a great model. Absolutely. But it's slow. It is slow. I mean, that's the trade-off. Same goes with GPT-5. GPT-5 thinking is noticeably, in my testing, noticeably better than O3, which is kind of the equivalent. GPT-5 Pro is noticeably better than O3 Pro, which is the one you should compare it to. There is an exception, which is a GPT 4.1, which is a very fast and a very good model for many different use cases, and also have a very strong personality, and it's great for code. But the thing is that it's just because 4.1 is an amazing model. It's not because GPT-5 is worse. It's 4.1 is an exception, and everyone knows this. Whether or not the small GPT-5 versus GPT-4o, which one is better, I think that there is some personality that is missing, and some models have stronger personality, like 4.5 specifically has very strong personality thing. It understands, I don't know, social cues and things that other models just miss.
It's a big model.
It's a very big model. Yeah. I don't know. I think that the small, normal, non-thinking GPT-5 might just not have the same, I don't know. At 4.1, it tells you what it thinks about what you said before even answering. I ask it, I don't know, I want to send this email to someone. Before rephrasing my email, 4.1 would just tell me what it thinks. Like, okay, that's a good approach. Or you can try, maybe instead of going for this email, maybe we can try and convince them this way and this way. And it's something that I didn't ask for. And it's definitely an added value. And I think this is what people want. And I think this is what people lack. Because just like you said, most people just go on ChatGPT and that's it. And for them, a router might just send them to, I don't know, not a good model. And that's what they know. That's what they see. And it might be the thing. That's my opinion about it. Because
I
use
want
mostly
to highlight for folks who are listening, and LDJ, you'll go next, is that there is a router there. And now it's a little bit easier to see because they say auto, and auto send you based on whatever. And not always do you need a lot of insight. Sometimes you want the model to go and check the web for you. But sometimes when you need significant steps following thinking is what you need. And definitely make sure that you test the models before you make sure you test again. If you test the GPT-5 on the day 1, day 2, and it sucked for you, like it did honestly sucked for me, you may have gotten the wrong model, or not necessarily the wrong model, not the model that you need for your use cases. We'll talk about prompting next, but LDJ, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, I think something that people aren't talking enough about is, well, of course we have the price aspect, which that's a huge, it's pretty much 10x cheaper than Claude 4.1 Opus, which is pretty insane. And I think it's even about half as cheaper, even a little bit less than that compared to 4 Sonnet. But in terms of the speed, though, which a lot of people aren't talking about, according to Artificial Analysis, which they do a lot of good work, constantly checking the speed of different APIs, and it seems like GPT-5 is about 3 to 4 times faster than even Claude 4 Sonnet. And so this is a pretty big deal when you're doing coding and using the API and trying to get a lot of feedback on something, or trying to see how it does something when you're vibe coding or using Cursor, then giving it that feedback and having that loop really efficiently going. And
are they testing time to first byte, or they're testing in general? Because like
just
what you said,
overall token speed, like in turn, so
just streaming.
Yeah, like
so here's the thing about streaming. GPT-5 needs to think for way longer, and you know, because of that, you wait just much longer, even though like it's streaming faster. Because it's thinking way longer, some people complain about in Cursor and like other places that the thinking part of GPT-5, you just like wait for longer to start getting an answer, and like it doesn't fit specific use cases like, hey, coding with it. It fits specific use cases like you know, maybe reason a long time to give me an outline of what to do. But like even if it's like 2 times faster than Claude, but it thinks for 3 times as much tokens, that people do prefer Claude, for example.
Well, no, I think this is actually measuring like not end streaming tokens, but total tokens. Because when you're using the API, you can actually get you get the info of sorry, you get the info of how many total tokens you're actually using, including the thinking tokens, because you pay for all of that too. You know, even with O3, you pay for all the thinking tokens as well.
Yeah.
So I think they are actually taking the total tokens and dividing it by the total time from sending the request to actually receiving the end of the final answer.
I see what you mean. All right, cool. Thanks, Lejay. I will highlight this. Finally, I was able to find this. So this is that our frontier AI labs really capable of PhD level reasoning. This is the folks who build the dynamic programming problems, and they call it Formula 1. And very interestingly, this is a significantly under how should I say, not
underappreciated.
Underappreciated. Thank you. Benchmark, because they built like 3 levels: shallow, deeper, and deepest of the very hard reasoning questions. And you can see something we don't often see. And we talked about often on evals that like show up like this, and we're very, very happy to see. You can see that most of the top tier models, GPT-5, O3 Pro, Opus 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro, and Grok 4, they get 0% responses on the deeper and the deepest stuff. So all of them get 0% on deepest. All of them. So these folks were able to do another hard benchmark that like the regular models get 0% on. And then on the deeper one, all of the top models get 0%, O3 gets 1%, and GPT-5 is the only one that gets a little bit more and gets 4% correct. And the shallow version of theirs, GPT-5 still beats pretty much every other model and gets like almost 49% correct. So you can see from at least this that some very, very difficult, tough PhD level questions, the type of question that Sam Altman says that, hey, GPT-3 was your college student friend or whatever, high school student friend. GPT-4 was your college student friend, and GPT-5 is your PhD level like friend. This is kind of the examples that showcase that yes, we've gotten a significant boost in intelligence that you can hone. But the question is, can you actually hone this? Do you have the prompts? Do you have the right questions? Do you get to the right model in the router? Those are the questions that remain. I want to talk about the prompts a little bit. OpenAI did release a prompting guide for, and I will say the prompting guide is mostly for API, right? So like, the thing that we're about to show you is not necessarily that you have to go into ChatGPT when you ask it about like, hey, what's the weather tomorrow in this town that I'm gonna go to, and you have to like start prompting it like with this guide. But I need to go find this guide for some reason. It gets stuck for me. Let me see. Yeah, okay. But this guide that they posted is now live on the kind of the developer cookbook, and I wanna show you the guide because I think it's very important for folks to at least know that, hey, if I want to learn how to build prompts, like the prompt that I have, the longer one, or I don't know, Wolfram, if you want to rework the prompt for Amy, for example, or some other folks, for developers, for folks who are building applications, this stuff is like, this is very, very important, right? Users shouldn't be changing and twisting how they talk to a model based on every new model, but definitely for developers to get that extra 10% of performance is very important. So I think it's a long guide, folks. It's a long guide full of examples of how things are happening. They have examples from Cursor, which they collaborated, and there's a proof here. They're like, we're proud to have Code Cursor trusted alpha test for GPT-5. Below, we show a peek into how Cursor turned the prompts to get the most out of model capabilities. So they basically gave these models to Cursor, and the Cursor smart team just like figured out how to best use them. And I want to highlight like 1 or 2 examples, but I'll send this in the newsletter. This is very interesting to you of this cookbook. Basically, there's a few new things that we've covered previously. One of them is the reasoning effort parameter. They added a new one called minimal, but reasoning effort basically tells model how long to think for. And in this case, unlike the router, you basically select which model you want and how long it thinks for. And the other one is they showcased I want to find this where the Cursor team basically reduced the reasoning effort in the API to low, but then they asked in the prompt to think for longer for specific things. They noticed that the model thinks for a long time for everything, and for different parts of the thing, they wanted like different reasons. So basically, the Cursor team played around with the prompt of how to reason and said, when you use tool calls, use reasoning a lot to tell us which tool calls you used and why, but generally the reasoning parameter was low. So some stuff like this. They also talk about the verbosity parameter. The API now supports of how much tokens the model will output, not think for, but output, how long it will like talk through. And they have a bunch of other tricks. The last thing is they talk about the instruction following of the model. The model is very, very strongly tuned for instruction following. And they say, like GPT 4.1, GPT-5 follows prompt instruction with surgical precision, which enables its flexibility to drop into all types of workflows. However, its careful instruction following behavior means that poorly constructed prompts containing contradictory or vague instructions can be more damaging to GPT-5 than other models. So poorly constructed prompts containing contradictory things can be more damaging, right? So like they actually have a optimizer here that I'll show. I'll show you guys super quick. They have an optimizer here. They have an optimizer tool they go into, and it's live at platform.openai.chat. I'll log in super quick. That optimizer tool lets you basically dump your prompts and will give you a reason that like it will go and look whether or not the contradiction is there. And let me go and find why am I not logged in? Give me a second. And yeah, here's the tool. Basically, a very simple tool that they built. You just dump a developer message here, and you can choose to optimize for 4.1 or 3 or 5. And you dump the whole thing. Let's do my editor one, for example. And then you hit optimize. And then basically they send it to GPT-5. And you get a optimized version that looks for all of those things that like prevent the prompt from working. I will add the optimizer tool to the show notes. Folks, definitely play around and check out your prompts with it and see whether or not this improves GPT-5 for you. Again, as I said, I don't think that simple users need to care or know about prompts. The new models should understand it better. That's the whole intelligence we're looking for. But for developers, I think it is important to hone your prompts, to build them. Maybe you want to use Weave to track the prompts versioning so you know which ones works best for what and do evaluations. But generally, I think it's good from OpenAI to like open up and say, hey, this is a new intelligence, this is a new model. For developers, you have to have a little bit of a new approach.
That reminds me of something I noticed with GPT-5 thinking, particularly with medical stuff, because I had some medical issues, so I asked about it, and it talked like a doctor to me, even used specific medical terms that I haven't seen when I would use O3 before for these kind of things. So there was stuff, and I had the AI, I had to ask the AI to explain it to me like a normal person. So I think they have really improved in that regard with specific medical training for the model. And they mentioned it as one use case.
All right, folks, I think we've covered GPT-5. Thanks all from, I just looked at the time and we have all but 3 minutes and we said that like we're going to talk about world models a lot. So what I will do is that we'll go a little bit longer because I think it's very, very important to show you kind of this world of explosions. And then in the podcast, we'll adjust it. So the podcast is going to be super long this time. I want to chat about 2 models that we saw, both I think open source. And I think after last week where we saw Genie 3 examples. Genie 3 is this world model from DeepMind that is incredible in memory. So you basically have a video generation model that runs in 24 frames per second. You can walk through and rotate your camera kind of like a game engine. And this week, we saw not one, but 2 open source models drop that try to do the same thing. Obviously, there's DeepMind with their TPUs and GPUs and the quality that they can get in VO. So don't expect that quality, but definitely 100%, some of this is mind-blowingly amazing. So first one, we have Matrix Game 2.0. It's an open source real-time and streaming interactive world model. Real-time streaming interactive world model. I'm just gonna show a video here super quick. So if folks who are listening still on the Twitter space, if you're still with us, definitely check out the video here because it's quite something. They have, no, I want like a specific video. I don't want this like overall. They talk about their model overview and self-attention. They compare themselves to OSS, another world model that we've talked about, and we can look at a few examples here. And so here's a few examples of just like a person walking through a world model generated from one image and going back, and you can see like a full-on almost game-like level of confusion. I think they also talk about going for like a long time. Here's a few GTA scenes. You guys remember we tried OSS on stage. It didn't look it kind of looked like this as well, where you can drive. It was delayed a little bit, but it kind of looked like this. And you were able to, we used Mirage as well. You were able to like prompt it and say, hey, here's the new world parameters, and we'll generate the world for you. So this is pretty cool. The let's say long video generation. They also talk about like longer videos. For some reason, they still talk about videos. And so I think that the way that these folks are approaching this is a video generation with interruptible instructions. So every time you hit a WSD, the movement keys, it will like start generating that video with these instructions. So basically, that's how they work. So that's pretty cool. And I think this is like very interesting that like a day later or 2 days later, I think like pretty much yesterday, Hunyuan, the folks who also made HY video, open sourced Hunyuan Gamecraft. And they approach this from the game. So those folks talk about video, these folks talk about games. High dynamic interactive game video generation framework built on Hunyuan video. So they did have HY video, and they rebuilt it into a world model. High dynamics unified the standard keyboard inputs into a shared continuous action space, enabling high precision control over velocity and angle of the video. Let's take a look at some videos here, because I think that this looks better. Not Genie 3 level, but definitely have image and a text prompt, and you get it into a sequential video. And then every time that you hit an action, it will start generating a video kind of like based on the action that you give it. And this is what they show.
I wonder, are these, because they showed with the previous Google video one that it could do 360 videos and you could open them in VR. I wonder if these can do live VR, because that would be insane.
Yeah.
I don't think that's very far though, because it's still just a video that wraps.
I don't think it's very far, because this is, you can do nerfs. I think I saw Bilawal say that like once you have the rotation that you built in the video, you can like build a nerf and like get a video scene out of there. I want to show some examples here. They compared themselves to the previous Matrix game. So Matrix game just came out, and they see some other one, 1xcam, and they claim that theirs is like absolutely the best in. Let me see, show you a difference between like Matrix game and this guy. So here they have a scene that they going left, and a serene landscape features a river winding through lush green fields. Here's the 2 videos. Hard to notice which one is better. I want to show like a full-on. It's not possible to like zoom in. Okay, let's zoom into this one. Third person perspective. You can see a boat going through. You can see game physics, real game physics. You can see the wind through the sails to an extent. And yeah, very interesting that we have now like both these models for, they focus on games, but they also have like different, like, different things. So these are 2 open source models that come very closely after like Genie 3. The Genie 3 though, none of these, obviously this is open source and they're going to get improved. Instant, they're going to do like all the 3D generation for VR. I'm pretty sure that that's coming. The thing that I want to show is the Genie 3 example that I saw that I was just absolutely blown away by. And I think I'm going to end on this. And meanwhile, folks, you feel free to react to this resurgence of world models that we're having.
The whole video is insane. Like video generation became good. I mean, since Leo and so on, it's a leap. It wasn't like this. I mean, it's all at the same time. Like also Midjourney and Grok and everything became like they all cross a threshold of usability now. And we're not that far from these things being usable. I'm not sure if you probably must encapsulate it in an engine in order to play it and for it to be a product. Like, I'm not sure if there is a value to just, provide this, but maybe you can be the engine. I think Nissan doesn't agree. Yeah.
I didn't think we would get this already. That's
insane.
It's a little bit insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
bruh,
move around in real time. This just happened.
What the?
And there's
Alex, go back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was waiting for you guys to stop talking so I can show things. What I'm showing right now.
A little bit back.
I know the point.
Yeah.
I know the point that you're going to talk about. This
everyone
is
look. Everyone
so
look. Everyone
what I'm showing right
now
for folks who are just listening is this person. Ryu Huang art with like a lot of followers, sci-fi artist that got the Genie DeepMind folks to just take one image of his art and turn it into a full-on interactive experience, and he has like two results on top of each other with Genie 3. Here's the original. This is the original. Okay. This is a video one, not fully like image. This is a video one. Genie 3 now takes over, and this what we now see is the Genie 3 version interactive of the video that he had. So let me scroll back. This is the original one. He's flying, there's birds in the air. You can see kind of the exhaust things from the ship. And then Genie 3 takes over, and the Genie 3 doesn't know about the exhaust, but it's fine. But Genie 3 still has the kind of the jet exhaust and everything. And then they see this like huge, he's flying through the air, he's seeing around, and then they see like huge sphere below the airplane. So look at the top screen right now. And they test collision, and basically you can see a collision of this airplane bouncing off this thing so basically we see like the physics in the Genie 3 model there. The thing that I want to show that completely got me by surprise is that you can see the jet streams from the tails. They end because the plane lowers its speed when it collides with the sphere, and then it goes back forward. So just this moment just blew me the F away.
Exactly.
This moment where like it collides, bounces off, the shadow's correct, everything's correct, and it bounces off. It just shows like Genie 3 is such an incredible quality model, and with the real world understanding and physics in there. Game physics, mind you, because real physics, this plane would crash. Right, like if you fly on the Cessna and you crash on some thing, you'll crash. But like game physics is built in.
It's definitely a game. Look, it's definitely a simulation. It's definitely just looks like a game. I mean, it understands that it's a game, and this is how games work. Bro, it has a shadow. What the hell, man? It's
all the shadows are correct. Look, when it approaches.
It's insane. This and the other example where the guy painted the wall. The paint stays and it works like to the side and it like keeps making the wall, and then he goes back and the paint that he painted stays there. Bro, like what the hell, man?
That impressed me the most too.
Oh yeah. What the hell were they training this on, and for what is it? How long? What is this thing? We don't know anything.
All of YouTube. Probably. All right, folks, I think so the world models are catching up on open source as well. We showcased two here, the Hunyan one and the Sky Metrics game one. We also barely covered, but like GPU released a vision model called GLM 4.5V, and Hunyan also had a large vision announcement that we talked about in the beginning. And I think that's mostly it. I think some of you mentioned that Grok is also generating videos right now. Elon Musk is definitely talking about them also doing like game generation. The way they're moving, they can't get there because like the video on Grok is super quick and not too bad, and now with audio as well, so like they're catching up as well. Definitely this year was the year of agent and became the year of like video models and game engine models and world foundation models. And somehow during this week of not a lot of releases, we also got to the end of the show, folks. 2 hours and 7 minutes here. I want to appreciate everybody who tunes in and listens to the show from week to week. Sorry for the technical issues at some point, but it's fine. I want to say thank you to Alan, who joined and talked about Jan models in the beginning, and generally showcased that even on slow week, there's a lot of open source happening in AI, and probably the slowness is not going to end because OpenAI Dev Day is in October. I expect Gemini and Google do a bunch of stuff by then as well. And we are feeling the AGI, exactly. So with this, I will say, if you're tuned in and you like any part of the show, we're here every week on ThursdAI talking to you about basically everything that released. We'll be here next week as well. And if you liked any part of the show and you missed any part of the show, feel free to follow ThursdAI.news on Substack, on newsletter or podcast. Everything that we do gets into a podcast form. With this, I will say a huge thanks for Wolfram, Raven, Wolf, Nistan, Tahira, LDJ, and Jan Peleg for continuous co-hosting thing. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm the evangelist with Weights and Biases by CoreWeave, the folks who bring you this show from week to week. And thank you so much. We'll be here next week. And give us comments everywhere. Post, share with your friends. This is the best way to support the podcast, just to keep showing up and tell us if breaking news are happening. With this, I will end the show for today. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.